Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage and relationship coaching, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one sessions in both French or English, and also do group settings. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found at lifecoachdanamzalak.com. Today, I'm very excited to have our fourth episode of season 26, a very special guest, an expert in helping people finding true joy and fulfillment by aligning their life within divine intervention. And just like every of my past episodes, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Mr. John Rennie, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk to your listeners, Dr. Dan. And I look forward to bringing some insight as to what actually joy is and how people can really experience fulfillment by aligning who God created them to be and actually making their choices in alignment with that.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Now, with everything that's going on in the news, with the new presidency and with the wars and all that, how can anyone find joy? I mean, there's so much bad news out there. How can we dissociate ourselves from all that and still find happiness?
Well, I get it. And that was actually an article that I wrote back in 2013 about joy and your circumstances. Now, happiness is the outcome of good circumstances. So if things around me are good, I got a nice meal, warm home, I can be happy. Joy is different. Joy is something that is from within that sustains you even during the difficult times. And I was actually studying the life of Paul, or contemplating the life of Paul, and go, how can you do that? How can you be in the middle of, shipwreck and being in jail and being beaten and all these things and count it all joy? I go, that made no sense to me. And God whispered in my ear, he was doing what I created him to do. And that's what changed my entire focus. I've been searching for joy for a very long time. I've had success. I've had happiness. I've had those experiences. But joy is different. Joy sustains you when things are difficult. Joy allows you to persevere during difficult times. And in this world, as you just pointed out, is extremely uncertain at best, between wars and climate issues and disunity and anger and hatred and racism and anti-Semitism and all these different hatreds simply come because a person exists. And those people were created in God's image, and this is not good stuff. Mm-hmm. So understanding joy and being able to pursue it, and maybe, just maybe, by pursuing it, you can make your part of this world a little bit better. And that is the intent of what our ministry does, is to help people figure out how they were created to serve. How do you make a difference in this world?
So you mean like leave it in a better place than before you found it?
Absolutely. And not worry about how it's going to be done. Sometimes we have to have all these guarantees that I'm going to invest myself and I'm going to get this return. If you are doing what God created you to do, and he's the one that's leading you, faith allows you to be able to say, all right, I don't know why you want me to call that guy that cheated me out of that money or whatever, but you're prompting me to call him up and to reconcile that relationship. Well, guess what? That reconciliation of that relationship could remove bitterness out of your life, which is holding you back from being what God wanted to accomplish through you. So we don't always understand how this works. Our job is simply to do what we were created to do and trust God for the outcome.
Yeah, but if you look at the history and the Old Testament, that God spoke to Abraham, spoke to Noah, spoke to Moses, we don't have that same luxury to be able to have God speaking to us. How do we know that it's actually we're on the right path of what God wants us to be. I mean, there's no like, if we hear an inner voice, we think that we have dissociative disorder or we have a mental health condition. So how do we know that this is our purpose? This is our mission?
Well, so we use a series of psychometric assessments, which, as you know, are an objective tool used for decades now in business and corporate media to be able to actually help a person figure out how they are wired. What is the internal work? Ours happens to have been written by born again believers, so they were sort of like, from our perspective, divinely created. But it's the same vetting and reliability testing, third party testing that DISC and Myers Briggs and these others have gone through. And so we take a look at these assessments that, as they are answered and filled out by the people that we are ministering to, that we are coaching, and we actually look at that from a very objective standpoint and say, listen, I didn't answer these questions. This is what you've answered. And by that, we develop what's called a purpose statement, which is typically, how were you created to serve? My purpose statement, when I was contemplating it back in 2017, is what ultimately caused me to start the BrushFires Ministry. Mine reads like this: I must strategically lead a gifted team to embrace the power of the God-given design for long-term positive results. I've always been in leadership from a very young age. I've coached soccer. I had my own business for nearly 40 years. I started this ministry. That's always been my part in this world, is to lead, to help people figure out what their God-given design is and to embrace it. Well, God introduced me to these psychometric assessments, which I had a natural affinity to be able to understand. And every one of these, just like mine is to help people, to lead people to do this, others are to counsel or to help heal or to serve or to coach or to teach or to administer. We are all designed to serve one another. So if you want to ask yourself, are those inner voices coming from God, or are they coming from your own lunacy, or from the enemy? I would say that, is it about serving other people? If it is self-serving, pretty good chances you're not hearing from God. Okay, pretty good chance. If it is, how do I help my brother? How do I help my sister? How do I help my neighbor? How do I help my coworker? Now you're probably listening to the right source. So where's the focus of that message? And it may not be an inner voice. It may be you're reading something and all of a sudden you're inspired. A lot of creative people have this intuition, inspiration aspect, which it just, when they hear it, they know it's true. It just resonates in their spirit.
Yes.
Others, it could be a dream. It could be a word from a friend. It could be something that you've heard over and over again. You're finally believing it. One of the things that we've learned is that the good that God has in you is oftentimes attacked by this world so that you doubt it. Other people can see clearly your calling because they're objectively looking at you. But you have been sort of hurt or have had false beliefs or all these other things implanted in you where you go, man, I just don't know. Every time I do that, it just doesn't work out right for me. Or, I get people accuse me of being bossy or a know-it-all or whatever it is that the negative thoughts are being flung at you. And oftentimes having an objective tool like ours, having words of confirmation from friends allows people to be able to say, maybe I really will trust this and give this a go and see if I serve other people this way, am I making this world a better place? And am I helping them?
I see. So basically, if the voice is of selfless nature, it's a word of God. If it's of selfish nature, it's something that is like not relevant.
I would say to a large extent. I mean, this is not like it's all a mandate or that it's always true, because there's all kinds of things that appear to be selfless, that you're doing it because you want attention.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
going to serve at the homeless food kitchen, and I'm going to post it all over my social media
Yeah.
and I'm going to,
Get some
uh,
likes.
yeah. So it's really the motivations of your heart really are a good indicator. So, but I said, as in a general sense, if you're trying to help other people, that's really where your heart is at, and it's not from a self, you know, grandizing type of perspective. Then there's a good chance that you're doing what it is that God wants you to do. Our tool allows people to be able to focus in on the areas that they're uniquely suited for. So if you have a counseling or coaching call in your life, if you have the capacity to sit there and listen to somebody and give them either good sound advice or to at least allow them to be able to talk it out, um, a lot of things that the people that they suffer with is because they don't have anybody to share it with. You
Correct.
know, if you bring something out and it is exposed to the light of reality, the world sees it. Now you have an opportunity to be held accountable to no longer do that again. So, for instance, you are watching pornography and it's destroying the relationship with your spouse. You share that with a friend and you say, "Hey, I want you to hold me accountable to this." And that friend says, "Okay, I'll do it." And they meet on a monthly basis and says, "How you doing?" "Well, man, I hit that link again, but it, 2, 3 minutes and that was off." Okay, you're making progress. But that sense of accountability and bringing it to light. I mean, that's what counseling is all about. It's just a safe place where a person can begin to express some of the things that they're struggling with and given the latitude to be able to figure out how to get out from underneath those false beliefs or shame or guilt or anger, whatever it is really that they're enslaved to.
I
I
see.
mean, a lot of people, when we're looking at addiction or anger and so forth, it's a slave relationship. You are a slave to that anger. You are a slave to that addiction. And simply being able to talk about it in a safe environment, being held accountable for the choices that you're making, allows you the capacity to actually gain victory and gain freedom from that slavery.
But do you feel, I mean, if we're talking about slavery and those who have either alcohol addiction or sex addiction or pornography, whatever it is, and they do well for a few weeks or months and then they relapse. I mean, is it subconsciously of the nature of wanting to be told what to do or letting the slave mentality to be able to take control of their life because they just don't know how to make decision or they're indecisive about what's best for them?
Yeah, again, I don't think that there is a cut and dry answer here because each person is going to be unique. Addiction is a very strong mental health issue and has to be addressed and takes time and to be able to get through that. Uh, some of it has to do. There's a there's a concept that we use called true and false beliefs. So a false belief is something that a person has accepted in their life and they believe it to be true. So, for instance, uh, a, a a a person who grows up in the South in the 40s and 50s, and he is culturally, and this we'll say it's a white young male, and he's culturally being told that black people are inferior.
Mhm.
Okay. Everything that is his support system is telling him that black people are inferior and they are, whatever it is that's being just, thrown at them. That is a true belief in that person's mind. They
Yes.
really believe it's true because the people that they trust are saying that. They're seeing certain circumstances and they're seeing it through that perspective. It's not until a person can actually hold that belief to the light of truth and love and go, that's not true.
Mhm.
That's not true at all. And then they make a free will choice to reject that lie.
Correct.
But it but every false belief that is in our life about ourselves, about God, about human beings, all those false beliefs are true in our life until somehow truth intervenes, God intervenes, love intervenes, and allows you to be able to see it for the lie that it is. And then you have to make a free will choice to say, uh, I give this up. I am no longer going to believe this to be true. And I'm going to start to take action to prevent that from controlling me, directing me, whatever.
But if we go with your example there, John, they have to take themselves out of this toxic environment to be able to
Yeah.
believe something completely different. Because if
Right.
you're in the South and you're still surrounded by the people who trained you to think this way, you're always going to believe the same. You have to like either move to the north or go in another place that mentality, that mental state of mind is no longer present. So people who have lived in the same environment, they could not detach themselves from something that is comfortable. And what you mentioned is taking yourself out of your comfort zone.
Right. I mean, and think about it. You could be in a relationship where you're both doing drugs, you're both addicted, and one person feels convicted to give up drugs, but they still are living with that other person.
Correct.
That other person is going to intentionally and unintentionally drag them back down because they're not ready to deal with their addiction. So you're right. You're going to have to make some hard choices to get out of those influences and to continue your healing process. And then guess what? Maybe God sends you back to them at a later date and say, okay, it's time for you to get yourself clean. When they're strong enough, when they have enough of a separate support system to be able to do that. But yeah, these things are not easy. I mean, they destroy lives. They are powerful in people's lives and require a community, require resources, require one of the things about our process is that we give people hope. When we show them how they were created and the good that they were created for, it's like a light in the distance that they can go, I don't know how I'm going to get out of all this, but God says that I was uniquely and wonderfully created, and I'm going to pursue that. I mean, that's from Psalms 139. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. You basically are saying, I know what I'm doing and where I'm at right now is not where I need to be. I want to get to that light that is saying there is a better version of me that I should be living. And so just the understanding that that is a possibility allows a person to persevere and to strive towards that better version of who they are. But if they are still in the same, you know, um, a bunch of dogs that are giving them fleas, they're going to continue to
Absolutely.
struggle with that. There are practical steps that people have to take to be able to heal.
Now, if let's say we go in a little bit deeper into, because you mentioned before the purpose statement, is it something similar to the mission statement that companies set themselves to follow through? And if so, if let's say we don't even know what our purpose is, how can someone establish that and follow through? Because they may say, well, hold on a second. I said this might be my state, my purpose, but maybe it is not. Maybe I'm going to in the wrong direction. How can you readjust?
Well, you have to have the desire to do so. Okay, so that it all starts at that place: is do you really want to change? Because we can show you through our program, through our coaching and design discovery meeting, and through our assessments, through our program, we can show you what that purpose is. But you have to have the strength and community to be able to live it out. You have to have other people that are going to come alongside you, and in many cases, work with you towards that goal. You're going to have to look for the missing pieces in your life. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, when I look at the process that I went through in 2016 and 17, and I sat down to say, all right, I'm going to write the curriculum for this ministry, for this workshop ministry. I came to the realization that God had been writing the materials to me for 20 years. The very first, I pulled out a folder, Dan, that actually I'd been collecting. I didn't know why I was collecting it,
Mhm.
and it wound up being the basic curriculum for the workshop that we put on. God was working on me for a long period of time. And so we don't look at this as we've arrived. It's a constant
Mhm.
journey in life. It's a constant process that things are revealed to you that are holding you back. Uh, uh, bad habits, false beliefs, people that are holding you back. one of the things that people experience is that, okay, all of a sudden they've got this great vision of what it is that they want to do that's good and holy and pure. And there will be people that are closest to them not want them to succeed,
Correct.
because that would force them to deal with their stuff.
Yes.
And they don't want to deal with their stuff. And if all of a sudden you achieve and you succeed, that's a reflection on them. They may not be doing it intentionally,
Yeah.
but subconsciously they will undermine it.
Mhm.
It'll come out like, oh, you think you're better than us.
Yes.
Oh,
Correct.
I see. Now you've gotten religion, so you're just too good to be with us anymore.
Hmm.
Who do you think you are? You know, and then this can come from your closest friends and family members. This can come from parents that can say these things because they don't want to take responsibility for their part and their lack of desire to become, you
Progress.
know,
Absolutely.
who God wants them to be. So yeah, it's a tough deal. You have to be in a community. That's why we're working on. And again, I just for your listeners, I come from this from a Christian perspective, so I respect your position wherever you're at. But discipleship is a real thing, and you have to have people that are going to walk you through,
Mhm.
those steps that you need. If you're going to become a professional ball player, guess what? You're going to have coaches. You're going to have people that are going to teach you how to swing a bat, how to stay, and to be able to catch a ball. You're going to have individual coaches that are going to specialize in very specific areas of your ultimate development. Well, that's the same with all of us. We have teachers we've gone through school that have spoken into us. We have family and friend members who love us and want the best for us that have spoken things into us. We need that community to be able to strive, uh, um, thrive, and to be able to have the desire to persevere and to continue on. Because
Mhm.
it's not going to be easy.
Oh, no.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I mean, a lot of people get the self awareness in their teens or 20s, maybe. You still have 15, 20, 25 years of bad habits that you got to break. And if you don't start this process until your 50s or, you know, then you've got even more years of bad habits and things that you've learned that are not healthy or productive that you have to overcome. It takes effort, it takes work. I do want to say this, though, it's worth it.
Mhm.
The outcome is worth it. When you are sitting across somebody else who you have helped and you see that their life has improved, that is more valuable in your life than you can ever achieve by doing something like buying that brand new car or whatever. Because you can walk away from that situation and go, I helped that person find a job today. I helped that person overcome their fear today. I helped that person become to heal their marriage. You when you have that and you look at yourself at the end of the day before you go to sleep in the mirror, you go, today was a good day. Today I made a difference in this world.
Yes.
Not not I had a tomahawk steak and I'm stuffed and had a great bottle of wine. There's nothing wrong with those things, but they're not going to have a lasting impact on your life as making a difference in some other human being's life.
That's so true. Now, as I was raised in a Jewish community and the Jewish religion and all, and we believe in reincarnation. So if someone um, do not meet their purpose in life and they get into an older age and they feel that they haven't done everything that they said themselves to do. I mean, is reincarnation something that you teach as well to say, well, it's going to be in your next life, or if it's you haven't not met your mission or your purpose, then that's it. You're doomed. Hasta la vista, baby.
Okay, so there's no expiration date on your purpose. So personally, I do not believe in reincarnation. But there is no expiration date. We've had people as old as their 80s go through our program and change and do something from it. God knows. The thing is, you cannot disappoint God and you cannot surprise God because He's omniscient. He's not in our timeline. He is outside our timeline. So he knows if you're going to be 85 years old and all of a sudden come to that realization of who he is. And even on those last years of your life, you can make a difference. There is nothing more powerful than seeing somebody who has been self serving, selfish um, through most of their life, and all of a sudden they change. Not just because they're afraid of death, but they truly change. And all of a sudden now they're a witness to their grandchildren or their great grandchildren. And they go, something happened to grandpa, something changed there.
Okay.
So do not do not discount what God can do through an obedient heart. Joy is the outcome of being obedient to your calling in life. And if that comes at 85, God will use it. If it comes at 15, God will use it. It's a matter of your coming to that place where you're saying, I've tried it on my own. I'm blowing it. It's not working out. I've been lied to. I don't know the difference between a lie and the truth. I need I need the guidance. I need the direction. So there is no expiration date. If you're going to pursue your purpose at 85, God knew that all up until that day that you said yes and decided that you're going to make a difference.
But to get to that level, John, you need some mindset maturity. It's someone you mentioned before, someone who's 15 can find their purpose. But again, there's not enough life experience to be able to know all the mistakes that you have done. So I think isn't that comes at a much later age in life to be able to really get to that point where you understand your purpose versus someone who's younger?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I discovered my purpose at around 57, 58. That's when my purpose was discovered. Now, I think I would have benefited by knowing it much earlier on. That would have been really helpful. But God understood the time for me, the things that I've been able to do required me to have acquired a certain amount of wealth so that I can work at this full time. So I needed that success in that business software so that I could spend pretty much every hour since 2016 in building this ministry and working with other people. This is my full-time job and I don't get paid.
Okay.
So I mean that's just the way a lot of ministries work. So it takes time. Now, did I do some good things? Was I obedient in certain areas of my life? Did I create some good in those prior 57 years? Yeah. That's not to say that there wasn't any good, but have I been more effective, more focused, and more precise in my energies since discovering my purpose? Yes. Uh, there's an 85-year-old lady that went through our program, okay? And she started a prayer chain of where she is now meeting regularly with other people to pray about circumstances that are happening in other people's lives. I believe that's completely from God, and she's doing exactly what she was created to do. She's encouraging those people that are going through the struggles, letting them know. She has no real wealth. She has no real worldly power or influence, but she can be faithful to what she believes that she was called to do. And in doing that, she's encouraging somebody. We don't understand the power of encouragement and exhortation. How many people are on the verge of quitting in life? Quitting on just living or quitting on the good that they're doing. And all of a sudden, somebody gives them a kind word or says thank you for something that they've done. And all of a sudden, they have this, okay, it's worth it. I can take another breath. I can continue to persevere. I'll give you an example. There's a lady that went through our program. I won't share her name, but she has a child that is a real challenging child. Okay. And this child basically runs wild. And she's had a certain amount of control and tried to do a number of things. But I've watched this single mom at her wits' end many times. I was having a down day. I posted something on social media, And who takes the time to say thank you for what I did in her life? That desperate single mother. And I thought to myself, her circumstances are so much more challenging than mine are at this moment. Yet she took the time to say thank you and express encouragement. And I read that and I was like, okay, I'm good. I can persevere.
That's amazing.
If she can, I can.
Absolutely. Now, before we end this podcast, where can people find your ministry and the coaching services that you offer?
BrushFires-digital.com. If they register as a new user, they'll get 2 books. They will also get one of our assessments free of charge. It's all included simply by registering. I'm actually in the process of releasing a new book called Sparks Turn into Brushfires. That will also be available as a free product simply for registering at that site. I'm hoping that'll be released this spring. I got to get it to my editor to get it finished. But yeah, brushfires-digital.com. Register as a new user, and you'll get those gifts.
Beautiful. Well, John, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. And thank you again for participating and inspiring our many listeners with your knowledge in the way of finding true joy and fulfillment in life. Now, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's episode. And I'm also very excited about the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled of season 26 of the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories just like the one that you listened today. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. True joy and fulfillment comes when you align your life with a great power from above, trusting that you are guided by divine wisdom. Surrendering to a higher purpose brings peace, even in times of uncertainty. When you walk in faith, doors open that you never imagined possible. Love, kindness, and integrity become the foundation of your journey, leading to deeper connection and inner peace. Challenges transform into opportunity for growth, strengthening your spirit. By seeking truth and embracing gratitude, you discover a joy that is not dependent on circumstances. Purpose unfolds when you listen to your heart and follow the path set before you. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be, and that every step is shaping you into who you are meant to become. Live with faith, love with an open heart, and find fulfillment in serving something greater than yourself. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.